haven't started recording yet.
Oh, thank you.
Let's do that first, and then I'm gonna share the screen. All right.
Good.
You see it?
Yep.
How about hearing?
Not hearing the volume. It's just music mostly anyways. That's better. So quality, at least on my end, isn't as good. The link, I believe you put in the chat, correct, Simon?
Exactly, yes. So
yeah. And would you do me a favor and pull up our proposal? Do you have it handy?
Solana has been on an absolute tear lately. Their cryptocurrency price has.
Oops, sorry.
I thought somebody was chatting at us. I can give you the link real quick if you want.
I'll have it here.
And Dimitri, this is a Fund 6 proposal. It's in the proposal. It's in the challenge setting. As you can see that Fund 6, it's a challenge setting for Fund 7. We formed this team, and it's more than just a proposal. It's also a challenge team behind it. And join the Telegram chat. I'll put that in the chat too. Dimitri, I'm not sure, are you already in the chat, in the Telegram chat? I'm going to try and get this in again. I am not very, okay, so the Telegram chat, Discord, we started. One of our team members, Kem, is going to start a website. He's going to work on a presentation. He's the one that put the video together for us. So again, this was dropped in here just at the end. I worked till 2 o'clock in the morning after gathering some information on what we should put in here. Yoram had some great insight into simplifying my ideas, wrote it up, put it in, and we've come together as a group and made it what it is. So it's the first iteration of what we hope will become something that Cardano and Catalyst brings to the forefront. Yoram, would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, I mean, in short, I think we are all gathered around being concerned about climate change and what can we do? How can we take action? What can we do? And Cardano ecosystem, we find it, and Cardano blockchain in general, as an incredible opportunity out to bring basically climate change into the heart of Cardano, to be very important subject within Cardano. This is our goal. And we want everyone to join, to be part of that, to gather as many people around that will help to put Cardano in the focus. The challenge is one thing, which is important. We're thinking to create some kind of to register people that are concerned about climate change and want Cardano to be more active about that, the community and the Cardano ecosystem. So this is the first step, and yeah, with welcoming everyone to come and make it important and take it forward. And it's incredible how much we did in just 1 week, just gathering together and did. And I think we can do a lot. We have the possibility to do a lot, and we need to put climate change in the center of Cardano. I think
we're also creating a bit of a library too, so that if you have some sort of sustainable project like you do, Vincent, with solar cookers, I definitely want to hear about this, because I'm off grid and I use either wood heat and my wood stove for cooking or propane, and I want to reduce that even more. So this is pretty cool, these connections that we have. But we are creating a depository, a library of sorts that we can go to for information that we need. This video will be one of them. Presentations, information about anything that we're passionate about, we can collect there. Anything else about the challenge, either Simon or Yoram?
Maybe we can hear from Vincent and Dimitri a little bit. What interests them about climate change, what they think. Happy to hear from you guys if you have questions for us.
Absolutely. So Vincent or Dimitri, Vincent, you've joined the Telegram group, right?
I don't have a Telegram account.
Okay, don't worry about it. Just join Discord as well if you've got that. How else do we?
Discord.
Okay, perfect. You're connected. We'll be moving to that more. So tell us about your project.
I am writing an assessment. I didn't realize I'm the CA, and I didn't realize I hadn't assessed this project, so I was just assessing it, giving it some stars because I think it's really important. You mean like a project that I would put forward in this proposal, or I'm sorry?
Now, what was this solar cooker? Was that you or Dimitri?
That was not me. That was Dimitri.
Dimitri, I apologize. Okay, let's let Dimitri talk about his project because that's important too. That's why we're here, to connect people.
Okay, so essentially in Sri Lanka, there is a large population of rural people who use either firewood or they use kerosene oil for cooking. So in the urban community, it's primarily LP gas cylinders which are used for cooking. So in the places like hospitals, schools, it's going to be always going to be LP gas for cooking. So the idea is that if they use a solar cooker whenever possible, obviously in the daytime only, but if they use a solar cooker instead of using firewood or kerosene, primarily in the rural community, they will reduce the time and energy required to cut down trees to prepare that into firewood. So then they are saving their own time and energy for more productive things. Then the trees get saved, which means carbon doesn't get released into the atmosphere. Then when they use the solar cooker, it's clean energy. So reduction of kerosene from the equation. Same thing on the urban side where they don't use the LP gas. There is no firewood use in the urban situation, so it's always LP gas. So that's again fossil fuel reduction. But the exciting part is I've already talked to a carbon consulting company who is based here, but they are affiliated internationally, where essentially they would put into place the more solar cookers I deploy, the more carbon credits they will be. So the problem I face is that I don't have a couple of $1 million or whatever to finance a large number of solar cookers. But at least if I get, I don't know, maybe 100,000, 200,000 to put into place, because each solar cooker is about $100. So if it's, you say 100,000, I'll get about 100 cookers. Sorry, 1,000 cookers. But I won't get 1,000 cookers because I have to factor in the freight, the duty, taxes, and all that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
the idea is.
So have you, sorry to interrupt, have you submitted a proposal for this, or is this something you're hoping to do?
I haven't submitted a proposal to IdeaScale because I just heard about
Okay.
that's being a
Oh,
new challenge.
you haven't done it?
This is not a challenge right now, right?
No, but you could have submitted that under some category. So you have not submitted your
haven't. No, I
proposal
haven't.
yet. Yeah, and this,
I came
Yeah.
to this too late for
Yeah.
the submission.
that's okay. This challenge setting for climate change is not a challenge setting yet. It has to be voted
I
in by the community, and our team is working very hard to make it aware. But you know, your project is exactly the kind of project that would fit perfectly in this, is reducing it. And you know, even as you say, giving credits, carbon credits, really when you're giving those credits, whoever's getting those credits should be paying 100% for these solar cookers, so that it's an even exchange. I don't know how the solar credits work, but I worry that it means that, well, we'll just keep making the waste and the mess without taking responsibility, because I can balance it by helping this way. We can do better. We can do better in Cardano by creating crowd-funded smart contracts for these kind of projects, where they can be even away from the credits. That's just my opinion though. So we can do better.
As you said, the whole carbon credit system works where people who generate carbon offset their carbon generation by buying credits. So that's a separate marketplace that I would not have access to. But I essentially get some, I'm the producer of credits, someone is the buyer of the credits. So that's how this exchange works.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking based on what you said, since there are projects here that actually generate carbon, they could be the ones to buy those credits essentially. So I offset someone else right here in the network without needing to go to some other unknown company. So it can set up a carbon credit exchange through Cardano itself. Why have a fiat currency carbon credit exchange? We may as well have a ADA based carbon credit exchange, right? I mean,
Perfect.
one currency or another currency, right? And that way,
Yes.
I personally prefer to earn ADA because ADA, generally speaking, appreciates. Of course, unlike the couple of weeks back where it went down, but generally it goes up, right? So, of course, there is one issue though. So, unless there is a manufacturer of cookers who takes payment in ADA, the likelihood is that I'll have to pay for it in dollars or whatever it is that they take. But the chances of finding a manufacturer who will manufacture it purely on ADA is low. But
yeah, you know what? It's going to come more, and we'll, that's part of our job is to make this platform something that people will go to. Simon, you had mentioned that today about how you're worried, the value of ADA would go down because we're going to transfer it into fiat currencies to pay for these projects.
Oh, no,
And
no.
I
was,
see-
I was not
no.
worried about it so much, but
No,
I
no.
think if we could, find, I was thinking about maybe those sustainability projects about climate change, they also need to have, larger amounts of money so they can be sustainable themselves.
Mhm.
And so I imagine they would invest in other things as well, right? So their money doesn't devalue. So
Yeah.
maybe there is maybe we could onboard some of those, and they could use ADA as a value, as a value holder for them. So that way they would not only take value out of Cardano, but they could also put value into Cardano.
Right. I forgot you had mentioned that too. You had clarified that already. Yoram, you
But I
had
think
some.
what is great is, this is a great proposal, and I think one of the things we might need to do within the climate change group is basically to form small groups that will help proposals for the next fund to present them in the best way, based on everyone's experience, to make sure that as many possible proposals will get funded in the next fund. I think this is kind of a task that we can put on ourselves for the climate challenge group.
And that's what I've been trying to do in the Telegram chat, is to link to the proposals, link to the video for the summit for anybody that might be there already, but we can also guide them, because there's the form that we have to present it in for idea scale and different processes that we have to go to and timelines. But as a group, we can also support each other and make our projects better, whether it's on chain or off chain.
I wanted to speak to what Simon was saying about
Yeah.
ADA depreciating or inflating or something like that, and not having real world value. And this is something that I think is something that this challenge might be particularly well suited for if people can figure it out. Right now, stake pools only make money by minting or winning blocks, right? The companies behind the stake pools are not nonprofits, generally speaking, and they're not bringing in any revenue. Where I like, and I posted a link to community solar, but it can actually be any kind of community utility, and it can actually fund things like Dimitri's proposal as well. But community utilities and kind of pushing us towards everything from clean energy to clean water, even roads and bridges. Like, there's no reason why we can't fund companies that do construction and maintenance. There's really no reason to limit what the community can invest in. If we can figure out a model where people can stake ADA and invest ADA and invest, however they want to deal with it, but by staking ADA in a stake pool, they could capture not only the ADA that's won via the staking
Rewards. Yep.
but also a revenue split from that organization. And this is something that really hasn't been done yet, because there's no revenue generating organizations that are running a stake pool right now that are giving back via the stake pool, right? But
Check out EcoPool. Check out EcoPool, because my understanding is that Matt there is running on solar energy, and he gives 30% of his profits to sustainable projects. So I actually have to contact him and let him know about this challenge and connect with him, because when you said that, it's exactly what he's doing, and it's exactly why I picked him. And also Nori is doing a stake pool Salmon Nation that's giving back. So there's other ones that are doing it as well. So maybe we can actually promote Matt and his idea and ask if he would share that as open source for other stake pools.
That's a good idea. I think that's, so what Eco's doing is they're running a stake pool. They're not paying for electricity, which reduces the cost of running the stake pool, which is great. But they're still only operating on stake rewards. So all the money they're giving is effectively stake rewards, and they're just distributing those stake rewards out, which is fine. I think that's fantastic. But what we're not doing is looking at actually creating investments in community, which is much. So when you want to talk about climate change, we're not talking about a few $1 million in a stake pool, which is a lot of money. And I don't want to, we're talking about trillions of dollars that need to go out within the next 10 years if we want to deal with this. So there needs to be a mechanism to scale investment from parties, right? And things like community solar is one of those, where if Cardano, if we can use a decentralized organization and a nonprofit as a community, as a Cardano community, to run mini utilities where we're selling electricity to the grid. So Cardano comes together, they can stake ADA and get money back out. They can also invest ADA, and we can, and that allows us to finance something like a utility, a small like 20 or 30 kilowatt hour thing that goes into a community. And then we sell the electricity back to the grids or back to the homes or back to the village, or, it can be anywhere in the world, right? So it just depends on where you are. That's those kind of models where like we can have people pay in to build something physical, and then their money comes back out as they get more than just the staking rewards. They actually get like the money that people pay them in utilities will go to maintenance of the site, of course, but also will buy more ADA off the market and send that ADA back to its owners, back to its stakeholders, right? That's how, and this goes back to what Simon was saying about pegging the currency to real things and keeping the value high. That's how you keep the value high, right? So if your staked ADA gives you a percentage of ownership in a physical utility that's revenue generating, you can create pegs, these kind of market pegs, to real value. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But
Wow.
And that would scale. That could scale. Is you could have stakers that could stake to it, right? And this is where tokenomics come in, right? Where you can stake and then get tokens, and those tokens are a share of the revenue. But if you want to get a lot of tokens, you got to just straight up buy those tokens with ADA. And those are actual ownerships in a global utility that is like the Cardano utility, like Cardano Electric, Cardano Water, Cardano Roads, and you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason why we can't do something like that, and do it in a decentralized way.
You've come to the right place.
I love what you're suggesting. Yeah, I think.
So you have, welcome on board. You have specific projects. I mean, I was working on similar projects in Indonesia actually, I mean, I think it's a great idea. Happy to discuss in more details and see how we can form a group and bring it into Cardano. I mean, there's a lot of projects going on with outside of the Cardano ecosystem or the crypto ecosystem in general, about solar for people that doesn't have even light. I mean, there's still like 500 million people that doesn't even have light, right?
Yeah, and I think we could bring them in, right? Like, it's not. I think if we open up and say, okay, there's an investment, a utility that wants to do a solar project, but they need $10 million. Well, there's no reason why Cardano Electric can't fund that, and then I think the problem is like we're starting to bridge physical and real fiat and real people and real maintenance of actual things and smart contracts and decentralized economies and stuff like that.
So,
Have you heard-
Find those bridges, the scale is
So
into.
Vincent, if I understand you correctly, I didn't get most of what you said, but essentially you can invest ADA in a way where you essentially build and manage your own utilities, electricity, water, whatever it is. Is that right?
That could work, but I mean, also like your job, like your idea with the solar cookers, right? And there's actually a gentleman doing this with livestock. There's nothing to say that we can't purchase the future sale of all of your solar cookers in one day. So like you could say, I'm going to sell 100 solar cookers next week, and we're going to make $10 per solar cooker. And I will return back $2 of that profit. So to the people that help me, plus the cost of the solar cookers that people, right? So the profit sharing agreements where we can fund people and through stake pools and through decentralization, return that money back to individuals. I think that's the value. It's cutting out the middlemen and allowing people to invest their ADA directly into eco projects that are high quality and at any scale, like small scale, at the
Okay,
100,
so
200
let's say I needed $1 million. What you're saying is that the ADA holders will directly invest that $1 million. I will then buy the solar cookers and put them into the villages.
Yeah.
Where I'm not selling it to the villages, I'm putting it in the villages. Then through that project, carbon credits get generated. The income that comes from the carbon credits get returned back to the investors.
Exactly. So, and you know, and I think if we think about that, like maybe we don't want to go in at $1 million right away. We might want to try 1,000 solar cookers, right? And you outline it in a proposal, and then the community can come in a catalyst kind of way and say, I want to buy the future revenue stream of this. Like I want to buy a percentage of all of the dollars or the ADA that will come out of these solar cookers. And so 1,000 people come together and they each put in 2 ADA, and boom, you're off to the races, right? And then once you've shown that those carbon credits you're gonna have to create, like there's a lot of stuff that you're gonna have to do, right? Like you're gonna have to create a company that's going to apply for the credits. You're gonna have to get the credits, sell the credits on the fiduciary market. You're gonna need to take those credits, buy ADA in an exchange, then post that ADA to a smart contract that's going, there's a lot of steps. I don't wanna there's a lot of steps to make that kind of thing work.
So basically you can create a proposal, and but also if some of the people on Catalyst or wherever you reach out, if they think, oh, these cookers, they are like a great idea, I wanna invest in that, they can stake to the pool, and through the pool revenue he can fulfill that vision.
You could do pool staking, and I think that's a great idea, or you can do direct investment, right? So you can buy tokens in that represent the future sales. So there's a futures exchange you can do. You can do staking where you instead of you get very low stake rewards. So you might only get like a 2% or 3% stake rewards, but the rest of the money goes to investing in a portfolio of projects. Or maybe you can vote with your stake. We can extend staking to be more specific, which you can't do right now, right? But maybe we can figure that out where you can stake, get tokens for staking, and then vote on projects with those tokens or something. I mean, there's a lot of like mechanisms that I think we could explore. Yeah, sorry.
I have a couple of things to say. I mean, the process you mentioned with the exchanges and all of that, and whatever with the carbon credit in general, up to now it's very inefficient, okay, between us. And I always, I learned from someone, if something worked for 20 years and it doesn't change anything, it means there's a lot of bullshit behind it. Okay, so carbon credits work for 20 years, but nothing happened, right? Everything is going down. So, and what I'm saying together with that, I'm not saying it's bullshit, the carbon credit, but I'm saying that the way it's being used today by many organizations, it doesn't make a difference that we want it to make, okay, in the nature. So my point is here, and I work for an NGO for a couple of years now, on the ground in Indonesia, in Africa, and so on. You need to connect it to the ground, okay? You need to have something in the ground that actually gives the cooker, and the cooker should not be for free. I don't believe that. I mean, the process on the ground has to work as well, and that's the most complicated. I mean, you can have wealthy bankers sitting in Geneva and making all the calculation and credit and money move here and money move there, but nothing happens on the ground. So you have to have the execution arm on the ground and creating the business model on the ground. And there's a lot of business model, and I think a lot of people who want to finance direct projects like that. And we need to connect it directly. That's my remark for that. But I'm not a big expert on that. I'm just saying, I mean, I worked on some of this model. I've been on the ground a lot, and I think that we need to find an economy where you provide better solution for people on the ground. I mean, the cookers have a lot of values, health issues, more efficiency, less time spent for women to go and look for wood, because mostly women look for wood, hours of spend on that, and so on and so forth, that can actually create an economic value around that. So, just in short, I mean, I like the idea. I love that we think big. I think we need to bring this climate change into the center of Cardano and the Cardano ecosystem and find this type of solution. This is exactly why we're here. So, but so I like your passion very much.
Yeah,
We
I brought
Sorry.
up I did a detailed proposal for that some time back with all those figures of that. So I can get that out and I will share that with you all.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a couple people coming and going, so I just wanted to make sure that they could pipe in. Ed, you've joined us. Have you got something to say around climate change? I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're welcome to join in. Maybe just put up your hand if something comes to mind, okay? Just feel free to pop in. We're solving climate change right here. Okay, so thanks. Just listening in.
Yeah, also, no, that's my train of thought.
Yeah, Vincent, I'm sorry. No, I want to say sorry if it sounds kind of. I didn't want to take down the carbon credit. I think it's important. The passion is important. I'm just need to do it maybe in a different way. It was done up today, and this is the opportunity.
You brought up a good point, Yoram, because what ends up happening when you have a more efficient car, it uses fuel more efficiently, you drive further, and we're not solving the underlying problem of fossil fuel reliance. So, and we get carbon credits, so that means that the wasters can keep going and using more. I saw something on YouTube the other day where the paper industry might start getting credits or being able to sell their fly ash to companies that want to use it for road. And it's like, well, hang on a second here. You're trying to incentivize the industries that are creating pollution to do more and to cut down more trees. So we have to be sure that we're hitting the bottom of the problem makers. And that'll be fossil fuel, deforestation, pollution, water. So we got to make sure that we're deep enough. Carbon credits, I agree, are not effective.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I mean, maybe if more, I mean, we cannot judge, right? That's the only thing that I wanted to change in my view. I mean, there can come many new suggestions and proposals that will actually bring great solutions, also dealing with carbon credit. So I just fixed myself. I just worked for a few years now with a lot of Nestle and Ferrero and all of these guys from an NGO perspective. And I saw so much bullshit, which make me, yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, it's also one, I'm sorry.
But maybe if the way Vincent suggested that, I think it makes a lot of sense if we move the community to sponsor it. Anyway,
I'm just interested
the only reason why carbon credits came into the picture was by a means of generating money for sustainability, to keep the project going over time, because it's not just buying the cook and keeping it there. So if there is any other way to keep generating income by which they can maintain that cooker and then expand the project into more cookers, I'm not hung up on carbon credits. I mean, any mechanism is fine.
Perfect. And we didn't mean to jump on you either, Dimitri. It felt like I might have been doing that because it's something that I'm uncomfortable with is the carbon credits and the old systems that are definitely broken.
Carbon credits, can you explain that to me?
Basically, the polluters get to keep polluting, but they pay for something some other way to justify them continuing to pollute. Is that about right, Yoram?
Yeah, and
Yes,
somehow, and
and
the price, I mean, the price per
Yes
ton
and no.
today is so low. The price per ton is 25 euros per ton of pollution today.
Oh, yeah, the thing is, that's correct. I mean, the case against carbon credits, you guys are perfectly right. But on the other hand, carbon credits often are what keeps certain parts of the forest there without getting cut, or it'll be what finances some replantation project, or it'll be what finances we'll say my solar cooker project, or it'll be in this part of the world. I'm in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is South Asia for anyone who doesn't know. So in this part of the world, which is among the poorest of the world, there is no real big, see, we've got Nestle, Ferrero, all that as well. I mean, in terms of brands which are prominent here. So Nestle takes our groundwater as well. So we are quite familiar with Nestle. So the point is that they are going to keep doing that anyway. And this carbon credits was made as a mechanism to fund some projects that otherwise wouldn't get funded. I mean, it wasn't made for that, but that's what it does on the good side. On the bad side, it will keep allowing these guys to pollute. But see, as long as people have Nestle products, or as long as people have, whatever they have, these companies are going to keep doing it anyway, carbon credits or no carbon credits. So the only difference is that a square mile of forest or 10 square miles of forest in Sri Lanka will otherwise get cut down, as opposed to the villagers looking after that, because they are generating some income through the carbon credits. So that's what generally happens in this part of the world as far as carbon credits are concerned.
Yeah, so that's great in that respect.
So from my view, I think this is kind of like a carbon tax, right? And I mean, like, if the company sees that they have to pay more for what they're doing, then they will, at least at some point, they will shut down the operation because it costs them maybe more than they gain from that, right?
Not actually, it doesn't work exactly like that. Theoretically, yes, but how it works is, so let's say manufacturing for, let's say their building consumes 100 tons of carbon a year. So they will pay the value of 100 tons of carbon and say this building is now carbon neutral. So by saying this building is carbon neutral, their shareholders get really happy, because they, first of all, they don't want the company to shut down because they love that company's products. So they'll get really happy that now the company is carbon neutral. So essentially they have a feel good factor that they are doing something good, because they are, by buying those carbon credits, they are supporting the forest in Sri Lanka from not getting cut down, which is thereby producing, offsetting that carbon, 100 tons of carbon by the forest here. So we hold the carbon, they use the carbon. That's how the offset happens. Or we absorb carbon, they let go carbon. So I'm absorbing 100 tons and they are letting go of 100 tons. So therefore we are balancing each other out. So they become a zero footprint. They are no longer outputting carbon, but they are zero. So in some factories are even negative carbon. They buy more than they are producing, just to say on their corporate report, we are negative, we are green companies or whatever. So there are certifications that they can get. All these things boost the value of the share. So therefore it's often more beneficial that little, let's say a $1 boost or $2 boost is a greater thing than buying more carbon credits than they need. Because of that, the thinking now is, you know, you feel good, you buy the share, the price of the share goes up, right? You invest in companies that are conscious, socially conscious, environmentally conscious, labor conscious, gender conscious, whatever. So that's one of the ways that carbon credits work when you look at it from the global multinational who wants its share price to increase by whatever way it can increase. Now, as far as we are concerned, we don't have any of those globals headquartering here, and we don't have shareholders of those globals here. We have Nestle Lanka, which is a publicly quoted company, so people hold shares here. But they themselves might invest in projects like this to make themselves carbon neutral. So my first, when I did this about 5 years ago, first I would go to the garment factories and say, why don't you consider investing in my project to get your carbon neutral certification, which will then drive up your value to producers like Victoria's Secret, Marks and Spencer, Gap, Nike, you know, all the brands that the garment factories are manufacturing here. So by them getting carbon neutral certification, their value to those companies goes up. So it's well worth for them to do it. But none of them took up that opportunity.
I see. I see.
Yeah, and I think we don't need to disclose nothing. We just need to improve and do more, right?
I mean, by all means, if Cardano itself can create an exchange by which we can offset carbon consumption versus projects like this, I mean, I'm all for it. I don't need to then get into a market where I have to keep exchanging it for dollars back and forth and, you know, all sorts of things like that.
Francis, is that right?
I think it's Frank.
Frank
Or Francois.
Yeah. Also, if you want to, you know, join in the conversation, feel free to, you know, voice your opinion, or maybe you have another topic that we want to talk about.
Hi, my name is Francois. So thank you for inviting me. Hi, everyone. I'm just, I'm largely here out of curiosity. I mean, I was part of a couple of months ago. I was part, sort of slightly part of the town hall.
Catalyst for the breakout rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not been involved now, so I sort of dropped in after a couple of months to see how things were, where things were going. So I didn't come here with any particular thing in mind, which is out of curiosity. But of course, I was particularly pleased to see this particular group, because I think using ADA and the whole Cardano community and the whole principle of blockchain treatment and contributing towards what is so absolutely necessary and so important now towards dealing with the climate change issues, which is hugely important, and in my view, is actually got to also define, you know, to have a huge influence on the success of Cardano long term in the first place, because the whole blockchain system, which will eventually, presumably, replace our current sort of banking system in some form, itself is already out of date if it cannot deal with some of the issues which are really on top of everything. So I think that's, what you're doing here, and I don't have any specific thing to contribute to that at this point, but what you're doing is actually hugely important, and I just want to commend that.
You being here contributes enough. Can I call you Frank?
Yeah, that's if that's easier.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Thank you. Really appreciate you popping in. When I think about the Kiko chat, you know, that started this, because Frank was part of that at the end, the breakout rooms, and got this going. So here we are, you know, months later, working out our own breakout rooms and creating these different branches and ecosystems. So thank you, Frank, for being here and for having participated in that. Because, I remember you from the comment that said, feel free to be a butterfly and go from one room to the other. So it's good. So thank you. You're a part of the reason why we're here, and actually being able to form this group and change things. So it's very good.
So,
Thank you.
Very pleased to hear that.
Yes, and we're really, I think we're really at the beginning kind of, and this group doesn't exist for too long. I'm only here for what, a week, and
Right in. And Vincent's new, but he's in. He's in. Dimitri's deep in it too. Yeah, I think it's like going fly fishing. Everybody's hooked. We're all in the same boat.
yeah, and
See you.
I mean, there is a challenge coming, and if you get voted, which might happen, right? And we will have a challenge about climate change in Fund 7, and yeah, I'm really excited about that. And earlier we had a meeting, and I think what's really important to me, and I want to say it here as well, is that we don't just put the money into, directly transfer the money into solar panels or something like that, but fund ideas that have more impact. Like Melanie said, like a blockchain, maybe that, or a smart contract that helps solve the issue on a larger scale.
Well, if you think about just paying for something, it's not sustainable. You're taking one from, but if you create a system like Sun Exchange has done, or Power Ledger, there are two examples of, I've bought, two $4 solar cells on two different projects on a market in, and where was it? I can't remember where it is in Africa, but it was like, it gave me a chance. I don't even know if, I'm sure I've made something on them, but that really didn't matter. But I was able to crowdfund on an affordable level to a project that I believed in, and they could move away from diesel fuel generators when the power got cut off, and move to solar. So you're right, though, this fund that we're asking for, the $2,700, is for the proposals to create sustainable systems and processes that we can share with others. Sun Exchange and Power Ledger are not open source. So we need open source that blows this thing out of the park.
Yeah, and I don't want to, dismiss Dimitri's idea, quite the opposite, because he has an idea that does have, wider impact at the end. Like, I'm sure he's not going to stop at those, I think, 1,000 or maybe 500 or whatever, how many he wants to start with at first. Right?
Yeah, and I appreciate too that you brought up more about the carbon credits, because even as we have these discussions and we kind of start off disagreeing, but that uncomfortableness or that thing it becomes a bigger part of the proposal, and it improves and broadens it. Dimitri mentioning that he lives in Sri Lanka and this is the best way forward. It's kind of like, well, that's not my experience, and now I understand. So I really appreciate having these discussions. It widens the perspective on the problem and creates more solutions. Mm-hmm. Very good.
If I was going to say one thing about the proposal that I wish that I think, it's sad we can't edit things. But one of the things I love and hate about the way a lot of venture capital rates their success is co-investment. So we put in $1, how much more money comes into the same project? Now they're looking at an exit, right? So they want to put in $1 and then they want 5 suckers to put in $1 and then they want to exit for $2, right? That's the VC way. But it's a great success metric for something like clean energy, because if we put in $1 buying solar panels and the community puts in $10 more, we all win, right? Because that's just $10 of solar panels, and no one's exiting. Or maybe somebody does, right? And they want to move on to a different project. That would have been, I think, a great metric for the success of the underlying proposals. And it's kind of weird to think meta like that, because it's a challenge that's going to fund proposals, right, that are going to actually build the things that are going to fight climate. The challenge doesn't fight climate itself.
Right, it's not a proposal, it's a proposal to create a challenge. And then this challenge setting now has, from what I see would happen with the partnerships for global adoption, that challenge, or it became the challenge without editing. So it's certainly something that I'm going to give feedback on, because it's more than just putting in a proposal. We've created a team. We would now, with this team, we would like to flesh this out before it becomes an actual challenge in Fund 7, should it be voted in, right? There's definitely more. And I'm hoping that we can still add different components to it. You know what? And I think the door maybe opened up the door for that with the rapid funding mechanism. I'm going to say that, because if this is an important topic that we should be dealing with as much as rapid funding, then we might have a chance to actually add more to it. So just putting it out there. I have to scoot away for about 30 seconds. I'm very close. Puppies need to be fed. I'll be right back. You guys carry on though.
I think I have a puppy problem too. They're screaming in the background. But it was great talking to everybody. I hope this gets funded, because I think there's a lot of exciting things that could happen.
Yeah, join the Telegram group, please. And
I will join Telegram to join this group. I don't. I have to create a Telegram account. I'm so.
Do the Discord will be fine too, right? We talk too much on Telegram, but I am going to try and also add everything that's important to the Discord. Okay, thanks, Vincent.
See you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think in the long run, we should probably use, although, I mean, yeah, I think we should probably use Telegram in the long run for, you know, announcements and things like that. But yeah, for now, I think that's where most people are online. So we're talking a lot there and organizing.
We'd also Ed, you want to add something? You want to share a little bit about you, or just listen?
That's okay too. Oh,
You want
Sorry.
to say something? Jump in, yeah.
Sorry, was that for me?
No, for Ed. We
Okay,
have Ed
thanks.
Thompson with us.
Too bad that Vincent was going now, because I had I found this very interesting. I think he was suggesting a key metrics as how, I don't know how to put it, like having how many dollars are spent for every dollar spent in the challenge. Did I get that right?
No, I didn't get this part. So.
I'm not sure. I haven't been in the venture capitalist world. I don't know what kind of, but it's, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting key metrics. I think also, what I've been thinking about as key metrics is, you know, CO2 prevented, or CO2, yeah, basically money against CO2. How much money did they get, and how much CO2 do they prevent or
here's the
or
thing.
reduce?
Here's the thing, right? CO2 itself is not a bad thing, because if we cut the CO2 too much, all the plants are going to be not having enough food. And if the plants don't have food, the plants will die and then we die. Because either the animals eat the plants and we got to eat the animals, or preferably we don't eat the animals and we just eat the plants. But either way, if the plants don't have enough CO2, there will be a food collapse. So simply going on the basis of radical CO2 elimination is not really the best thing. But of course, there needs to be balance, is what I say. Because if people go overboard and simply don't, because I mean, we see sometimes people forget that plants need CO2, and without that, the plants are not going to survive. That's what I'm trying to say. So if we go too far overboard, you're going to swing the other way, and then there will be problems. And those problems can't be sorted overnight, because any plant needs 6 to 12 months to grow. So if you have a famine during that time, there will be severe consequences. That's just a thought. I mean, we are still all trying to reduce CO2 and other emissions, but there is that side also to consider.
I think regenerative agriculture comes into this as well, right?
Yeah.
Drawing down the carbon and using it. And Yoram's the expert there.
Yeah, not an expert, but regenerative agriculture. I worked again I'll share with you the foundation. We work a lot about regenerative agriculture, also with Nestle and these guys in France. So regenerative agriculture is obviously, basically it can mitigate, regenerative agriculture can mitigate all the impact of climate change. That's one of the talk. It can capture all the carbon from the atmosphere basically and put it in the ground. But there's a lot of challenges in transformation to regenerative agriculture because the farmers are normally very poor and they don't have resources. And anyway, so it's a huge issue which will be very important in the next years. But if we do better agriculture, smarter agriculture, which is multi-cropping, crop rotation, land cover, keeping biodiversity, no chemicals, all of that, it can basically mitigate all the climate change impact. And you saw Kiss the Ground, right? You saw the film. So that's a good example of that. Yeah.
I don't know whether any of you all know this, but recently Sri Lanka banned all chemical fertilizers and made a radical decision to go organic. Now, the reasons for that, the actual reasons for that is because they ran out of money to buy chemical fertilizer. But the stated reasons were they want to switch over to organic because it's good for the soil. Now, I'm in favor of organic agriculture, but the trouble is that it's not something that one can do overnight. Like you said, there is a long drawn out process. It's a complex process. A lot of thinking has to go into it. So anyway, the current situation is that there is an impending food catastrophe looming here, because apart from the fact that they don't have stuff growing to feed the local population, there are export crops which are tea, rubber, coconut, and things like cinnamon. So we process 81% of the world's cinnamon. So that's going to go down significantly. Tea is going to go down by 50%. So these are the problems that we are facing. So again, there are environmental impact situations. I'm not sure, maybe a creative solution from Cardano in terms of, I don't know, something could solve this sort of problem as well. Another idea to put on the table.
Well, you bring up a good point too, though, Dimitri, that you can't just suddenly stop using the fossil fuel or stop using fertilizer. There has to be a transition. And now Sri Lanka, by the sounds of it, is in that emergency where you're trying to switch from the fertilizers cut off. Eventually our fossil fuels will cut off. Eventually our water systems will break down, our oceans will break down. We won't have any more trees. So, look at that kiss the ground. I don't know if you're familiar with regenerative agriculture, if it's enough right now, Yoram, when it's an emergency situation, I don't know.
So there are experts here who have looked at the situation forwards, backwards, and sideways, but they say that whatever you do, there isn't a system in the world that can basically transform the soil within such a short space of time. There is no way to do it in such a short space where people don't starve.
No, so I saw some programs in India. Actually, there are some regions in India, and with the UN Development Bank, UNDP, and governor of a big region. I mean, you know, the chemical companies get billions of dollars every year, tens of billions of dollars, you know, to buy the chemicals, the process. So I saw some regions in India that they cut this process and they invest in the farmers, but definitely the models have to be different. I mean, there is a process, there is transition. It takes few years. There is a process, but you can finance also incentivize the process. Let me give you an example. In Europe, they give about $50 billion a year incentive to farmers. $50 billion a year. Okay. So these incentives can be driven into farmers that are starting to work in a more regenerative agriculture and take more risks. So there is a process completely, and it's very complicated, but it's something we have to do. But eventually, I mean, we need to change the way we grow. We grow our agriculture, because there's inundation. It's part of a monoculture. Is inundation that we have worldwide. Biodiversity is disappearing, quality of the food, and so on and so forth. There's many aspects for that. Yeah.
I don't know, in Austria, the farmers are hurting. Like we have, a lot of the farmers can't really, sustain themselves anymore. It's not profitable anymore, which is really sad to me, actually.
No, because yeah, I mean the supply chain is very complex. There is a pressure to take prices down, right, by the multinationals or by the retailers that buy directly. But this system would have to be broken. I mean, bio kind of came as the solution, right? In the last 20 years, everyone say bio, let's buy bio. But bio, everyone that works on the field knows that bio also doesn't really work. I mean, the certification is too expensive. The checks are not really happening regularly. So it's kind of, we need to build a solution from the ground. I mean, in my view, we have to start with the farmers, taking care of the farmer and the nature around them, paying them fair prices, starting all the process from there. This is what I worked on in the last few years with this foundation in Indonesia and in Africa, actually, on this type of model. And it's very complex, as Dimitri right, it's very, very complex, and it takes time.
Juan, is that right? Am I saying it right?
Juan?
Excuse me, guys, I have to go. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I need
Okay,
to go.
Dimitri, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stay connected.
Yeah.
Okay, Dimitri. Hi guys, I apologize for coming this late. I have issues with my microphone, that's why I'm double. And I was in Sala de Café, which is the one that we host. But yeah, very, very excited about this proposal and this project. And I'm very involved with sustainability, Melanie, you know that. So anything I can do, I'll be more than happy to help.
I'm going to drop in some links for you to join us, okay?
Super.
Just copy this. Yeah, Juan, nice to meet you again. Juan, I met through Frank, actually, at one of the first breakout rooms. So this is pretty cool. Oh.
Juan, you've been in Sala de Café or in the Bar de Vodka that we see you twice?
Sala de Café. Another cafe. We did well because we didn't have that many people, but we were able to brainstorm and strategize. There are challenges that we need to address, and we are working on that.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, Melanie.
It sounds like what we were doing here. Very small group,
Great.
but also solving some problems. So it'll be recorded and we can share that too.
Super.
I'm glad that we have a Spanish speaker on board. And we have,
That's great. for
and
me.
we have Sri Lanka on. That's the Eastern Town Hall. Weren't you saying that we need to grow, Yoram?
Sorry?
Weren't you saying this morning that we need to grow exponentially? So we've just added the Spanish speaking community and Sri Lanka.
Very important
Mhm.
to grow and become important part of Cardano, start joining Cardano community that we need to focus more and more on climate change. That's the goal. I mean, incentivate a proposal and supporting climate change initiatives. I mean, we need really to push it internally.
Yeah, I think
So-
even if we and I mean we're all hoping for a moonshot, right? But even if we're just helping in our 270K smallish way with treating climate change, this would be a success.
So Juan and Ed, I'm not sure if you were here when I was giving the little blurb about what we're doing. Simon, would you mind dropping in our proposal again into the chat? So Juan, we put in a proposal kind of last minute, and our challenge team has been growing over since the proposal went in over the last week, and we've accomplished some amazing things. So we're always looking for more people to join the group, the Telegram group. We're collecting information and trying to centralize where we can kind of have a library for things that are important. Kem from Turkey has created a beautiful video for us to be represented in the summit. We will not, this challenge won't go, this challenge proposal itself won't go through unless it gets voted in by the community. So we're trying to promote it very strongly, as well as bring in more team members and more perspectives. Because whether or not this gets funded, we are going ahead with this. This is something so important. If for some reason we fall through the cracks in the voting system, it's okay, because we will keep doing this. Kem is also working on a website so that we can become a challenge team. We're a nameless challenge team right now. So we're looking for ideas for that. And yeah, we're gonna get this done.
Also proposals, right? So if you're thinking, or if you're interested in proposing, start thinking about potential proposals already, right?
Right, and we are here,
Right.
and I'm here to help support. There's others that will help support to make those proposals so amazing that they get voted in, and then we'll just keep growing this. Right now, it's
Great.
only what, 5% of the budget? I think it's only 5, and it needs to be much bigger than our total fund, a bigger portion of it for sure.
Right. Well, the first thing I saw, I don't think the proposal, but the amount of funds that was requested,
Sorry, you have
and I have.
Yeah,
your voice.
Juan, yeah, can you do me a
Hey, can
favor
you
and
hear me?
just shut
much
off,
better.
or shut off your video maybe even? Oh,
Oh,
I don't
no.
know.
No, I'm okay. I think it's
Okay.
this. Can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Yeah. Right. So I was saying that the first thing I noticed on the proposal, I know it's Fund 7, which will provide a lot of time still. Oh, this is Fund 6. Right? No. Fund.
Yeah, we
Fund
have
7.
no time to change it right now that I know
No,
of. I'm
right.
hoping that we will be able to
No.
improve it before it becomes Fund 7, if it gets voted in. But then there's this thing, the community has voted it in as it is. are we going to be allowed to change anything or to improve it? And I don't think we can. So it is what
No,
it
I don't
is.
think we can do that. Right. But my recommendation will be to phase it out, the whole proposal, in different proposals that can be submitted at the same fund or different funds, depending on the, and then that way the amount of funds requested would be more feasible, because $230,000, I think it's a huge amount. That may be, I mean, I'm not the carrier of bad news, but just the reality, you know. What I have seen since Fund 1, people always, you know what, the successful proposers, what they do is they do really, they ask for a really small amount of money.
So the thing about this, it's different than a proposal though, is that it's actually a challenge setting. We aren't asking for $270,000 for ourselves. We're asking that it becomes a challenge setting like NFT business models, sorry for the puppies, NFT business models, and that the fund will set aside $270,000 to fund proposals within this category. It's not for us. It's not for us
Oh, of course.
specifically, but it's for the proposals in our challenge. Maybe
Got
you
it,
knew
got it.
that already.
Yeah, I have to read the whole proposal to be able to assess it better, of course.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
well,
not,
great. I'm going to have it.
it's new this time around because we're actually, I think maybe since Fund 5, the community is actually being, you know, in the way that they're decentralizing, we're allowed to actually vote for the challenge settings now in Catalyst. And that's what we are proposing, is that we actually take climate change seriously and set aside enough funds, enough attention, and focus on. When I went through Idea Scale, I found 40 proposals in, you know, I looked through it in you know, a couple hours, 40 proposals that would have fit in this category, and they wouldn't have been so lost in, say, NFT business models or the other places that they were lost in. And they'd have a lot more attention in this type of category. So
Yeah, you have to take a look at everything here. I'm actually provide, if I had the time today, I'll do that.
and Ed, does that make sense for you as well?
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
yeah, Juan, but how about Ed? How about you?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. Ed is another person that's in our group. He's just listening in.
Okay.
So, and yeah, Yoram, I know it's very late, so thank you very much. I think we should wrap this up in the next couple minutes if we've got anything else to say.
We talk
Okay.
soon. Thank you very much. Juan, join us to the different channels, Telegram and Discord.
Thank you.
During the discussion. We need
Sure,
you on
sure. We'll be in touch.
Bye, Simon. Bye, Melanie.
Take care,
Good
Melanie.
night. Good night,
Good
Yoram.
Take care.